This show is brought to you by listeners and viewers like you. EvanX.com Tesla accessories, our TeslaOwnersOnline.com community, and our Patreon supporters at patreon.com/TeslaOwnersOnline. I mean, Netflix, man. The shows that Netflix are coming out with, unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, why would you go to the movies anymore? They're so good.
Between Amazon, Netflix, Apple, I mean...
Well, I'm not going to the movies now. I don't know who wants to, but I wouldn't go now.
I'm actually really disappointed. I was really looking forward to seeing the new Dune movie, the Denis Villeneuve. Mm-hmm. It's been delayed a year. Oh, that just totally bummed me out.
Well, I understand. A lot of movies are being delayed. I know No Time to Die, the new Bond film, that's been delayed. Black Widow from Marvel, that's been delayed. And what's interesting, too, is that with the Marvel, right, but with a lot of these films, if there is, like in the Marvel universe, there is a sequence of films that come next. So when you delay the first, it just has a trailing effect down the line, so that a lot of films now, it's good that some studios are back into production mode. But yeah, a lot of studios.
Well, I understand why they're delaying them because the movie theaters got a lot of money invested in these films. It costs a lot of money to make them, and if they don't get the viewers and they don't make their money back, man, it's game over.
Well, it's tough for theaters, especially for their staff. But Regal Cinema is one of the I think it's the second largest behind AMC. They're maintaining their closed doors. They're not reopening anytime at all. They have basically an indeterminate closure. But a lot of studios now, like Disney, are releasing films on their paid platforms. And you can, like Mulan, when that was debuting on Disney Plus, you could pay a fee. I forget what the amount was, but I think it was like $25 or something like that. So you can stream Mulan at home.
Happy birthday to you.
Holy cow.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Eric. Happy birthday to you.
Oh, thank you so much.
Sorry,
that is
you
a
can't
mess.
have any, though.
Sorry, you're not. It's Eric's birthday today. We wanted to wish him a happy 43rd birthday.
43, yeah.
Okay. Close your
At
eyes,
least make it gluten-free in his honor.
1, 2, close your eyes.
Close your eyes. Blow.
1, 2, 3, make a wish.
There you go.
Amazing.
That audio is going to sound great over the podcast.
Well, we are recording it. It'll go out.
Yeah.
Chocolate ganache cake.
Oh, that sounds delicious.
Sorry, it's not gluten-free, but you're
no,
not
you know
here,
what?
so I guess it doesn't
totally
really
fine.
matter.
It's not gonna. There's no harm gonna come afoul because.
I'll send you a virtual piece.
Okay, virtual piece. I'm going to get the real one though.
Just one.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, it's true. It's 43 years of age now.
Oh well, we're all getting older. I'm not getting any younger.
I was telling my girlfriend yesterday, I'm going to go to sleep tonight and wake up tomorrow a year older, but look all the more younger.
Yeah. Emmy's birthday's and Bev's birthday's on the weekend. It's actually on Sunday. So, yeah, lots of fun. Well, welcome everybody to the show. We always have a little bit of light banter, and we thought we'd throw it into the show because it's always fun to discuss. I know we haven't done a show in a little bit. We have lots to talk about, so we thought we'd sit down tonight and go through some Tesla news. Actually, before we get into that, Ian, we have a bit of a thing to talk about. Tell us a little bit about Tesla.
The test calendar actually is
test
what
calendar.
I wanted.
Thank you.
Yeah,
test letter is the guys that do the wonderful newsletter, so we'll give them a plug too.
Who's aging here?
Oh boy,
what's that, Sonny?
Get off my lawn.
Yeah. So Test Calendar is a really cool project whereby they've put together a calendar which has all sorts of cool events in Tesla history. So on X day, it's the 10th anniversary, such and such a thing. Back in 2009, the first Roadster appeared, this sort of thing. It's got all sorts of cool factoids, beautiful photography of all your favorite Tesla models on it. And each month features a sponsor. And I think almost all of them have some sort of a code that'll get you a discount on their goodies. And this year, I am sponsoring one of the months. Hey. So if you want to get yourself some Evolveware, if you get yourself a test calendar, you will be entitled to a discount off of all of the goods in the Mad Hungarian Evolveware store. And best of all, it goes to the profits generated go to a good cause. It's,
Rails to Trails Conservancy.
Thank you. Exactly. Which is a cool project whereby they're converting all of these disused rail lines all over the U.S. into hiking and biking trails.
Awesome.
Yeah. So, Trevor, if you could put a link for both those things, where to order
Absolutely.
the calendar in the show notes, and as well a little thing on the Conservancy, you can read up on that. But yeah, I think it's a really fun project. It's a cool item, and yeah, you get some bonus discounts on some of the items, your favorite Tesla items, along with it. So what's not to love?
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, so as Ian said, I'll put a link in the show in the video notes. So if you guys want to check that out, definitely go and get some calendars. I've had one in the past. Beautiful photography. So looking forward to that. As more cars come out, we're going to see some other stuff in there too. So, I'll be looking forward to see some Cybertruck and some Roadster in the next couple of years. That'll look pretty cool. Well, having said that, we have some Tesla news to get into. Tonight's first story, let's just dive right in. What the heck, right? Comes from Business Insider. Don't normally link to these guys, but it was a neat article. They're basically saying the first Tesla in New York City just hit the streets as the taxi. So the New York City taxi company here. The cab is operated by a company called Drive Sally. They completed more than 100 trips on the first weekend of service. But instead of running the taxi 24 hours a day like they do other cars, they run it in a shift, so they can charge it overnight. And this is kind of interesting. One of the first problems the drivers reported was that passengers had trouble getting in and out of the vehicle because of the door handles. Go figure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's always been a bit of a problem. I mean, I think that's the Model 3's probably its weak point when it comes. I mean, as an owner, we understand how the cars work. It's all fine, but not a time goes through. When I take somebody for a car drive and they get a little weirded out by the door handles, I think, not the first time we've seen that. Anyways, going on to say that the Model 3 has medallion number 8P86. It's the only electric taxi cab in the city, according to public records. And let's see here. What else did they say? Oh, yeah, there was something else down here I thought was kind of interesting. They were going on to say that one of the drivers, actually, they're going to add more of these cars in the future because it seems to be working quite well. This was interesting right at the end of the article. It says one of the drivers couldn't handle the stress and brought the car back after depleting only 50 miles at the 220-mile range.
Really?
Yeah, somebody couldn't handle it. And another had no problem draining it down to 5 miles of range. He bets that so he bets in the long run the taxi and rideshare drivers will be willing to pay an extra bit for the car that doesn't need to be fueled up, given that gas is one of the driver's expenses. Now, I had a quick look at supercharge.info, great website, just to see what kind of superchargers are in Manhattan. I count 4 of them. Actually, there's a 5th one on Mott Street, and it says it's only accessible to monthly permit holders. Anyways, all of the superchargers on Manhattan Island are the urban 72 kilowatt ones, and they're spread out geographically quite far. So, for supercharging, it's not the best place. Manhattan's pretty dense. So, yeah, it makes sense for right now. I think once they add more cars, I think it'll be better because then they can just keep switching them and just rolling them over and stuff. But anyways, congratulations. I think this is great. I would love to get around in Manhattan in a yellow taxi Model 3. That's awesome. Once they add some cars like the Model Y, maybe some other cars would be really quite nice. I think more municipalities need to do this electric taxi thing. Let's face it.
That and the police cars, which is cool. We're starting to see a couple more cities in the U.S.
The police department in what's that town in Illinois? I think it's Illinois. They were running it. Anyways, it's been a really good success. So, yeah,
I mean, it does a couple of things. One, which is it lessens the air pollution because you're getting a lot of the carbon monoxide out of the air, but also it's less noise pollution, which dense cities tend to have. So if you have quieter cars, and then you have hopefully people can hear each other more in the streets, and you can really get that New York City feel of some guy going, "Hey, what are you doing over there? Hey, Vinny,
I'm walking here."
I think my biggest memories of going to New York is just the sheer amount of sirens that are going on all the time at every hour of the day. That's a bit much. I mean, we had a 5-alarm fire here the other day. I don't know, some car was over here on fire or something like that. Lots of fire trucks going by. Anyways, I'm pushing my mayor here in town, very progressive, nice guy. Trying to get him to do some stuff with electric vehicles as far as the city fleet is concerned. Sometimes you got to be careful though because of the optics of that. With the public, they always think that these are $100,000 cars. No, they're not.
Yeah.
Right? but it is one of those things. But I think a lot of that is just education. And as things progress, the cars get cheaper and cheaper. So I think in due time, we're going to see more and more of that. So
I think it's also a matter of trying to let people know, and for budget planners, this is really a big conversation for them when it comes to city planning. But there's a higher upfront cost for buying the vehicles, but your savings come in a relatively short period of time because you're not then spending maintenance fees, you're not spending gasoline fees every day. It's easiest to plug in the car at night at the facility, of the city's ownership, and then just charge the car that way. So it's a matter of just having some economist sit down with them, their budget planners, and sit down and say, hey Tom, we're able to save a lot of money. If we replace these 5 gas cars with these 5 electric cars, here's the savings we see over the next 10 years. And then that's enough to go, wow, we're saving taxpayer dollars. Then it's a noticeable figure that they go, well, it's a worthwhile investment.
Yeah, it's always an education process. Right?
Yeah.
Because, obviously with the optics, when you say Tesla, everybody thinks, oh, it's a 6-figure car, right? Even though it's not true anymore, but that stigma is still there. So yeah, it's very much an education process. But the thing is that more and more manufacturers, as they come out with cars, not everybody's doing $100,000 electric car these days, right? You got Kia, you've got the other guys coming on board. So it's just an education thing.
Yeah.
So, all right, we got another story courtesy of our friends at Tasmanian. It looks like Giga Shanghai, the factory in China, is on track to possibly, I have to say that very carefully here, possibly produce up to 550,000 units in 2021, and some 100,000 of those earmarked for export. You have to be careful here because the possible run, you have a possible capacity and then you have a run rate. 2 different things, right? So it looks like Shanghai is really ramping up quite well. The fact that they've actually started building right-hand drive cars for the Hong Kong market is kind of interesting because all they've been making is mostly Model 3's left-hand drive for the Chinese mainland. So some of them are starting to go to Europe now and some of them to Hong Kong. So yeah, Shanghai is really coming on strong. I think it's, what did they say here? Now, with further confirmation, a Tesla Gigafactory Shanghai production target is 550,000, 50,000 more units than were previously reported. And of the 550,000 units, about 100,000 units are slated for export, along with some 10,000 Model Ys. I haven't seen any evidence of the Model Y portion, phase 2 of the factory coming online yet, but it shouldn't be very long. There were some Model Ys spotted around the Shanghai factory in the traditional camouflage garb that a lot of the car manufacturers use. So it looks like they're probably starting some basic pre-production of the cars. So I don't expect it to be very long. I would say probably January, February, I think probably somewhere in there. So yeah.
What's amazing about these figures, and I love this Ron Howard movie. It's so underrated.
Yes.
Gung Ho.
Yeah.
Right?
There's a classic.
I got to go download that one again.
15,000 cars. And you think about, and they were asked to do that in a month, right? At a U.S. factory, build 15,000 cars in a month. And here it is, we're seeing figures, 6-figure numbers in the mid, like 500,000 cars in a year, which is amazing because again, and we've talked about this before on prior episodes of the show, which is with every new iteration of every gigafactory that Tesla builds. Now you're going to see that in Berlin. You're going to see it coming up now in Austin. Their production ramp up between building the factory itself, getting the employees hired and trained, and then be able to produce the vehicles. It's just going to continue getting faster and faster all the time. Fremont, part of its limitation is its size. And even when you start adding GA lines, essentially building tents outside to have the ramp up for Model 3, it's amazing they did it for sure. But again, you're limited to a very small space there. But now you have unlimited space to build these things. I don't know where we were.
We had a technical difficulty, folks. So if you're kind of wondering where this conversation's going.
Oh, okay. So I was saying that with every new iteration of their factories, they're able to produce it. But Fremont, as I was saying before the cutoff, Fremont really just has a size issue. But they were able to kind of accommodate that and get around it by building extra lines outside in these large tents, which proved to be crazy but also ingenious at the same time, as most of what Tesla does anyway. But now with Berlin and Austin, when those figures come to fruition in the next few years, it will not be surprising to see them produce something close to what China is able to do right now. Now, will they do it as the same efficiency? Maybe not. We know that when China puts its foot down, things really go at high speed. I mean, we see that now with Apple and all the different resources that are being made over there. So, so it's an impressive figure as it is, but I just, like I said, we're going back to the gung-ho thing. I just could not help but think about that film and building 15,000 cars in a month. And here it is now, China's just blowing that number out of the water.
Yeah. Good classic movie. I'm going to have to definitely watch that. Thanks for reminding me again.
It's got Michael Keaton, Mimi Rogers. It's a great film. If you're too old to remember it or too young to not know what the hell we're talking about, Ron Howard directed it. It's called Gung Ho. It's honestly a great film. It's got such great comedy, but also some good stuff. George Wendt is in it. It's a classic, U.S. manufacturer working with a team from Japan. Just go watch it.
Yep.
Go watch it.
All right. Our next story is about Tesla submitting their filings to do battery cell production at the Gigafactory in Texas. This comes courtesy of our friends at Teslarati, so a hat tip to these guys. So apparently Tesla has filed their papers that will allow them to do cell manufacturing. Now, we kind of knew right from the beginning that this was going to happen. I mean, Elon kind of alluded to that fact that they were going to do that. They will be making the new 4680 cells, but according to the report in here, it looks like the cell manufacturing is not in the first stage of the plant build out. So, these plants are always built in stages. So the first stage will be largely for Cybertruck production, maybe some Model Y, and then cell production will come online later. So yeah, looking forward to that. Our good friends, there's a what is that YouTube channel here? The guys with the oh my gosh, I'm so tongue-tied tonight. I'm going to bring up this tweet here. Our friend Joe Techmeyer. There you go. Here we go. I had to go to Twitter for it. Anyways, they run a YouTube channel. They fly drones over the Gigafactory on a regular basis. Go check them out. I'll put a link in the video description. You guys can go check out their YouTube channel. Definitely making some progress. They're still at the footings stage at this point for the presses and some of the pylons that they're going to put in there. Anyways, on Twitter, he posted some really neat pictures, and I'm going to bring them up here real quick. These were taken on November 8th, some progress here at the Gigafactory, so you can see some of the footings that are going in. But interestingly, some of the walls that are going up have a Tesla logo stamped into the concrete. That's pretty cool. And they've erected a Tesla... I don't want to call it a tombstone. It's a sign. It says Gigafactory. It's not a tomb. It's concrete. It's pretty cool. Oh, here it is. Right here.
There's a tombstone.
No, here it is. I'll bring it up here on Twitter. There you go. It says Tesla Texas. Anyways, it's a nice wall with an inlaid concrete logo. Anyways, pretty cool. Go check it out. So anyways, good progress there. Can't wait to get my Cybertruck out of that factory. So yeah, Texas is moving along, doing well.
And the Roadster eventually, whenever that happens.
Actually, Roadster is going to be built out of Fremont, somewhere in Fremont. I don't know if the actual factory itself or some other facility.
Elon's house.
Yeah, Elon's house, actually. Well, he lives in Bel Air. Actually, he sold his house in Bel Air, didn't he? Yeah. Eric, you'll like this one. Next story.
Will I?
Yeah. Someone was asking, Jason on Twitter was asking, any chance of seeing Tesla insurance in Florida? Elon says, yeah, probably in 3 to 6 months.
Probably.
So, probably. Elon time. Elon time, right? So that's why even Elon's recognizing 3 to 6 months. That's Elon time there for sure. So those of you looking for some insurance in Florida, well, maybe you can look forward to that in 3 to 6 months.
I do wonder though, because Florida is a no-fault state, how that affects rates. And because of like Tesla insurance, just from a general conversation, it's still very new, and not every state has it. Insurance in Florida, not always that cheap. Especially if you live in a congested market like I do here in the Tri-County area. So I'd be very interested to see what the rates would eventually become. But Florida's own restrictions on auto insurance will make it very interesting to see how Tesla insurance is affected.
Yeah,
by
I
Florida
kind of
law.
wonder the same thing too, because where I live in Ontario, it's a no-fault state as well, or province. Insurance is not cheap here either.
Right.
Yeah, a lot of bad drivers. And
I mean,
winter.
it's that, and it depends on the coverage you have. Like, I recently wanted to lower my insurance plan on a monthly basis because it was over $200 a month for the Model 3. Right, and that's US, which is crazy. So I was able to lower it down just by increasing the deductibles to a higher amount. So yeah, if something were to happen, I might have to pay more out of pocket, but at least I'm saving more on the front end. So as long as something doesn't happen, I end up saving a bit. But yeah, my insurance here is not cheap at all.
Wow.
It's not. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
I used to pay 129, but over the last year, it's been like 85, $88 or something.
And
like that.
it's strange
Not too
because
bad.
the Model 3, so my prior vehicle was a Honda Fit, and now I have a Model 3. And the Model 3 is remarkably, I mean, not that my Honda was not a safe car. I have more safety features now. But my rate went up because of the value of the vehicle. So I mean, and I understand that, but again, just we are a cesspool of accidents here, and there's a lot of uninsured drivers in Florida. And statistically speaking, this is known in the U.S. The elderly cause more accidents than teenagers. And that's certainly true for people here in Florida, because we have a very, very large demographic of those who are retiree age and older. So yeah, we'll see if it's that 3 to 6 month year window when the numbers do get released and it becomes available. Because again, I would be interested to see what the rates would be. Because again, I'm already paying now $180-ish per month for my car. Will Tesla insurance be more competitive if all the other figures on that policy are the same?
Now, Ian's in Quebec, and insurance there works a little differently. How can you quickly explain it in 30 seconds or less?
Well, it's no fault, and it tends to be very cheap, but that's because your personal injury stuff, et cetera, quite a bit of it is carried by the car's license itself, the license plate. So we pay hundreds of dollars a year to register the car for the plate.
Holy cow.
Oh yeah, it's it varies. Mine was exorbitantly expensive the first year because the car exceeded $75,000. There's an additional luxury tax for every $1,000 it is over the limit. So the first year it was like $450 or something, and out of the blue this year it dropped like a rock. It like came down to like $260. I'm like, did they make a mistake? Don't tell them.
It's like the property assessment, right? Don't tell them about the taxes.
Exactly. So maybe they eliminated it from EVs. I didn't go looking. It's kind of like a don't ask, don't tell at this point. I really don't want to know as long as it stays there. But yeah, it tends to be, we pay higher in plates, but our insurance is very reasonable. Like, what the hell am I paying for the car? It's under $800 a year that I pay for the insurance, on a car that book value to replace is $101,000 Canadian, at the time I bought it. Yeah. So that to me is insane. I mean, it's actually cheaper to insure the 3 than my used A4 was. So I'm very pleased about that. And that's not unusual. Most people I know, even with Model S's, are paying under $1,000 a year for them. They're pretty if you shop around, they're very reasonable to insure here.
Yeah. It's a very common question, when people ask me about electric vehicles. I mean, one of the first questions, other than the usual, how far, how much, and how long, is what's the insurance like, right? They always seem to think that, does it cost more? I'm like, no, about the same as any other car.
The same or cheaper for the category, certainly in our region, if you get the right company.
Well, it varies. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Would your insurance be higher if you guys didn't have federal or national health care? You think that would have an effect?
That's a good question.
Because I wonder if in the U.S., because we don't have, a national healthcare system, some of the times, like you're judging how much coverage to get for, say, bodily injury based on what you think could happen in your car and the severity of an accident. So the more coverage you're willing to get, again, for severe injury, then the higher you pay in premiums out the door. I do wonder, though, if you have a national healthcare system where if I have to go to the hospital, pretty much I just go in, get treated, and then leave. There's not a lot of paperwork and stuff to fill out if that would affect insurance rates.
I think you're onto something, Eric, because every insurance company I've ever had policies where, always ask, are you planning to take the car into the U.S. at any point? my answer is always yes, of course. Love traveling to America. Right away, out of the box, they're like, okay, we strongly recommend you take $2 million liability. Some of them won't insure the car in the U.S.
Wow.
Exactly for the reasons you described, because of the medical costs, the potential liability for medical injury and stuff in the U.S. is so high. I imagine that's part of it. So
yeah, it's very much like getting travel insurance, right?
Mm-hmm.
We always take out extra travel insurance just because of that, the healthcare factor. Okay, well, always interesting to talk about insurance. On a lighter note, Teslaquila finally went on sale this past week, and of course, completely sold out. $250 a bottle. I've got a picture of the bottle here for those of you who are watching the podcast on YouTube. Well, you can see it. If you haven't and you're listening to the podcast on audio, head over to our YouTube channel. You'll be able to check it out.
When you say a picture, the one in the solar advertising?
Yeah, well, I'll get to that here in a second. I thought it was kind of interesting because, well, the bottle is actually a beautiful design, and it turns out the bottle was designed by Javier Vendura. So a good shout out to Javier if you're watching. Great guy working over at Tesla there. He's one of the chief designers at Tesla underneath Franz. And it's basically the same shape as the lightning bolt icon for the charge icon on the Model 3 screen. Now, to your point, we discovered that Tesla had snuck in an Easter egg on us for several months. Now, I have some pictures up here. These are courtesy of our friend Raj. So Tesla in their stores have these beautiful large picture murals of the what they call Power Everything, which show the solar roof and the solar panels and stuff. Anyways, this particular picture that I have up here on the screen, which is a beautiful, looks like a California modern house. He went in and took a picture, and if you zoom in, here's a second picture, and you look at the kitchen table, what's sitting on the kitchen table? A bottle of Teslaquila. So Javier went on and he says, we snuck that in there. I totally forgot about that. But yeah, it's been under your noses for months. So yeah, good one, Tesla, for sneaking that in with us. Actually, the other Easter egg that's in some photography that not a lot of people probably know about, unless you've actually camped out in your car, is turn on camp mode. So once that screensaver comes up with the campfire, with the tents. So if you look between, I don't have a picture of it here, but anyways, if you look between the two chairs and there's some trees in the background, there's a Cybertruck hiding behind the trees. So lots of fun there. Yeah, here's the tweet from Javier. He says, we had fun designing this one. Never dull moment. Cheers and enjoy responsibly. So yeah, lots of fun.
It's so beautiful. I mean, I would have ordered one to my US address and paid the horrendous import duties to bring it in.
Oh,
but
yeah.
It's 250 converted to US dollars plus whatever you'd have to pay to import into Canada. It would have been astronomically expensive.
But it's a collector's item.
That's the thing I don't understand. If you're paying for the bottle, and not the tequila, then it's a waste of money. Like the tequila is part of the value of it, but I can't imagine spending. But I can't imagine spending $250 on a bottle of tequila and then not drinking it. Like either that's some good shit, and I'm gonna enjoy it over the course of my time. But like I can't imagine spending that much for something. Like imagine when if someone says, "Hey, you want to buy the new iPhone 12 Pro Max?" And I'm like, "Great, but you can't unbox it. It's just going to sit on a shelf."
Yeah,
that sounds crazy. That's what this is with Teslaquila. Like, are you kidding? No.
Well, my opinion is Tesla has a history of doing these one-off products. No, I'm not saying
the surfboard.
Tesla, the surfboard. I mean, that's a collector's
item.
But you
can use it, right? Like,
I know. So I'm not a drinker. If the bottle was a little less, I mean, yeah, okay, you put it on the shelf. I mean, does it appreciate? I don't know. Is tequila one of those things that actually appreciates in terms of flavor, like whiskey
As it
does?
ages, you mean?
Yeah. Does it age? Does it want? Is it like that or like a wine?
It's not like a barrel liqueur. So it's not like whiskey where you age it and that's certainly good. Like Dewar's, the longer you age it, the better it gets. Or even certain wines. Tequila is just once it's fermented, once it's done, it's done.
Oh.
So you can drink it in whether it. I mean, it's one of those things where
I got a bottle of Octomore Scotch that's worth a couple $100 upstairs.
Yeah, I mean, listen, my parents have alcohol that I think predates my birth. So I mean, it's but
I used to have a bottle of.
I'm not a big fan of hard liquor.
I used to have a bottle of 1991 Dom Perignon.
Wow.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was given to me by the house builder when we built our first house. Yeah, I think it's worth a lot of money now, but I don't have it anymore, so whatever. So yeah, kind of fun. So yeah, anyways, they say it's sold out, I'm sure, and they actually got, and I don't know anything about this stuff, but apparently they use a very reputable distillery to make these things, so it doesn't look like it's limited, at least for now. Could be in the future. So if it does come up, watch my Twitter feed. I'll let everybody know once it comes back into stock. But yeah, it sold out very quickly. So, yeah.
As everything Tesla does.
All right. The next story is about Cybertruck. I actually have two different things about Cybertruck. Are we going to see some details about the Cybertruck soon? Someone had asked if we were going to see, this is back at the beginning of the month here. Mm-hmm. Someone on Twitter had asked, will the Cybertruck be an ass kicker too? Well, it's basically a tank from the future. That's what Elon said. And someone else had asked if we were going to see any more details, and he said maybe in a month or so, and that was on November 1st. So we may or may not get some details on more of the Cybertruck towards the end of the year. I think the timing works about right because we're coming up on the 22nd, which is the first anniversary of the reveal of the Cybertruck. My shoulder's still not 100% back from that particular day. Lots of fun. If you guys want to hear the whole story of that, go back in time and watch our podcast. I forget what number it is, but...
I can't relive that again.
Oh, what a nightmare. Anyways, we did a whole show on that thing. Anyways, lots of fun. Interesting times, that's for sure. So anyways, I'm looking forward to...
Just make sure you have your passport, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, exactly. Anyways, yeah. That's the name of the podcast. It's the Passport Incident, if I remember correctly. That's what we called it. So go and listen to that in our back channel. So yeah, hopefully we're seeing some more stuff. How many changes are going to make to this thing? I have no idea. Elon said that they were going to be doing some tweaks. Obviously, with anything that they do, production cars are always better than the prototypes. I think I tweeted out and I said something like, it'd be interesting to see what they do with the windshield wipers, right? Because on the Cybertruck, where are you going to put them? The whole car is completely flat. So unless they make some significant changes to the hood and the windshield area, I'm really curious to see.
Well, is it going to use that weird transverse system that we saw? So
Tesla, thank you for bringing that up because Tesla does have two patents that they took out. One of them was for an electromagnetic wiper system where it would be essentially one wiper that could potentially be on rails that would go side to side and then be able to stow itself horizontally. So that's definitely a possibility. The other patent that they had was some kind of laser system to zap bugs, but that doesn't take care of rain. So my money is on the electromagnetic one. That makes the most sense to me. So anyways, we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. Now, in the same vein, someone, and I'll bring up the video here, and I won't play the audio just in case here. Anyways, Ed Jones on Twitter posted an interesting video, and he said it was a Model 3 pushing through a flooded street. Actually, it was a Model X, but we're not going to split hairs on that one. It looks like a submarine. Didn't know that your cars could drive practically underwater, and he tagged Elon Musk. Now, we've seen these kind of videos before, that Teslas can indeed, navigate water, and the batteries are mostly watertight, not waterproof. Anyways, Elon went underneath, and he responded and says, wait till you see what Cybertruck can do. All right, so speculation time.
Wow.
Is Cybertruck going to float? Do we think it's going to have boat capabilities? I mean, we know it's going to have some pretty good off-road capabilities.
Well, think about it. The whole point of the exoskeleton, right, is the shell is the structure of the vehicle. So I think right out of the bat, right out of the box, that's going to lend itself to being a fairly watertight structure, more so than the existing one where you have a platform, and the body is joined to it. So there's probably some good possibility there that this thing is going to make a pretty decent boat, and especially if it has anything like the MT tires that we saw on the prototype one, those would be fantastic for propulsion in the water. I know Mark Benton's just dying to know if it has
Mark good
tires. Yeah,
we love Mark. He's always asking about the wheels and tires.
We do. Shout out to
Mark. My only concern with the flotation thing is that Tesla's really, and I've said this many times before, they're really going to have to up their seals game, the door seals, because the last thing I want is to go through water in a Cybertruck and end up with a foot of water in the footwells. FineLab has a line of protective coatings that were engineered to protect your Tesla's paint, leather, carpet, plastic, and wheels, effectively blocking all those UV rays and environmental factors before they ever get to ruin your brand new baby. FineLab offers a complete line of car care products and ceramic coatings for both the do-it-yourselfer and professional detailers. Did we mention we also have the world's first self-healing coating? Check us out at finelab.com, that's spelled FEYNLAB, to see the science behind the self-healing. Check out our product catalog and click Contact Us for a free quote from a certified installer in your area. FineLab and Tesla, we were meant for each other. Because the seals are crap. So, anyways, that's my personal opinion.
If it's not Scottish, it's crap.
That's right, exactly. If it's not Cybertruck, it's crap.
What if instead of floating, it actually fords? Like this is his whole obsession, with the Lotus Esprit,
Yes.
the James Bond car that went underwater. What if it can actually ford, like an armored vehicle and come up?
Well, Elon did say one time that they wanted to make that one actually submersible. Yeah. And it's been sitting at the design studio all these years and hasn't gotten around to it
Can
yet.
you imagine just suddenly emerge out of the ocean and drive onto the beach?
Here's
would
a
be
question.
epic.
Here's the question I have, ready? Because I think interesting discussion, waste of our time, but interesting discussion. If the vehicle floats and with climate change really wrecking
It is the apocalypse mobile.
No, hold on. You have your Cybertruck parked in your driveway. Massive flood comes through. You decide we need to leave. We have to get out of here. You go to your driveway. Your Cybertruck gone. Why? Because it floated away. Right? Like there's just
No, you just summon it back. It'll swim back to you.
no. But that's the thing, though. You have to have some kind of propulsion system in the rear to be able to have it some kind of drive control. So where's that going to go?
No, believe it or not,
there's no outboard motor in the back of the thing.
The wheels do.
The wheels
paddle.
propel it. Like, I mean, I think the best example of it was that Model S video out of Russia. It was one of the first ones we saw where the guy just blasted through the tunnel and you could steer. Like the front wheel
I did too, yeah.
The front wheels will work effectively as rudders. And, if all four drive wheels are going, especially again with a gnarlier off-road tire, you got enough paddle surface on there. I think that thing will probably make 4 or 5 knots on the water without any trouble at all. So as long as there's no big current, it'll summon it and it'll just swim its way back to you.
Oh my gosh. Well, if it does float, well, you can expect lots and lots of YouTube videos from everybody doing every kind of imaginable silliness with this vehicle, including myself, of course. Because, of course.
Because you can.
Because I can. All right. So, anyways, looking forward to that. Again, we won't see anything from Cybertruck until later next year as far as production is concerned, but maybe we'll get a taste of some new Cybertruck features.
I can only see like ads now in the future. Are you worried about climate change? Get yourself a Tesla Cybertruck. You can float yourself away and save yourself like it's Kevin Costner in Waterworld.
Exactly. God. Oh my gosh. All right. Our next story is a very quick one because, FSD has been testing out there with a bunch of our Twitter friends, including John from Silicon Valley Owners Club, Tesla Silicon Valley Owners Club. I encourage you guys to watch this video that he did. FSD works like a champ in the rain. This has always been a bit of a concern in some cases, but anyways, the video is phenomenal. If you watch it, he did a 14-minute drive where he had no disengagements in the pouring rain, so it's very encouraging to see. I'll put a link in the video description. You guys want to check out his YouTube channel, and you can see that. So, anyways, there's a lot of good FSD videos out there. Actually, on our forum, and I'll try to remember to put a link on there. I've got a list of pretty much some of the best FSD videos that I've been able to capture. Now, I've been a little lax over the last couple of weeks. I haven't put them all in there, but I've got, I don't know, maybe about 3 dozen videos or something like that, so you guys can click on them and just watch them. So anyways, there's more coming out all the time. Actually, there's one YouTube channel I like to watch called AI Driver. I think it is. Anyways, that's his license plate on his car. He does a lot of really neat FSD challenges. So I was just watching one before we started recording. So I'll try and remember put a link in the video description. You guys can check out some of his stuff. And of course, our friend Kim Paquette's doing a bunch of really neat videos, and James Locke as well, who's also a Tesla Owners Club president who's doing lots of testing. So anyways, it's looking good. Apparently, we may see FSD in Canada and Norway next because it looks like once it's... well, Elon did say on Twitter that once it's out of beta in the U.S., that those will be the two next countries, I think, ostensibly getting FSD beta, so not the full release. So once it's out of beta in the U.S., this is the way I read the tweet anyways. So once it's out of beta in the U.S., then it would go to beta in Canada and Norway. Why no more countries? I have no idea. But anyways, be interesting to test it out in the snow. We had
Beta
1 day
late
of
than
snow.
never.
We had 1 day of snow, and then we've had Indian summer for like the last week. It's been beautiful here. Just great, beautiful
I think
weather.
Ian heard that and sort of ignored it.
No, actually, it was just as nice here. It was crazy. We set an all-time high on Tuesday, was it? I think it was 22 degrees or something like that. This is mid-November.
Yeah.
So 22 degrees. That's like 72, 73 degrees Fahrenheit in the middle of November in Montreal. That is cuckoo. I mean, it's gorgeous. I was like sitting out
T-shirt
having lunch.
weather, man.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
Us washing cars
we
and-
haven't had a low below 72 so far this fall, winter-ish time. I mean, it's not officially winter yet, but for some places they're experiencing winter. But we haven't had it yet here in South Florida. It's the latest in the year that we've ever had on record where we have yet to have a low temperature of 72 degrees or lower.
Yep.
So
I'll take it. Hey, if
Better
winter
late
was
than
like
never.
that around
You
here
say
all
that
year
now.
round, I'd be great. I'd be happy.
Well, it's again a
I hate
reflection
snow. I hate
of our changing climate. We're seeing this Atlantic hurricane season, just incredible figures coming out. We just had a tropical storm impact us here in Florida twice, coincidentally, and we're just seeing record numbers all over the place. There's now another system developing in the Caribbean, as we discussed. There's another storm in the Atlantic out there. We could conceivably see 30 named storms this Atlantic season.
Oh.
I mean, we're well into the Greek alphabet. Like the next storm would be Iota.
Oh my gosh.
So right, it's insane. But there's theories now that these systems could last longer going inland further. Which is amazing. Not long ago, Iowa had what seemed like hurricane-like conditions in the system out there. So it's not surprising that we consider weather anomalies. To me, it's more of an indicator this is the new normal.
Yep.
Yeah.
So people who think like, oh, I can't stand the heat, go to the Northeast, go to Canada, and they'll tell you, no, we're having summer-like conditions. Well into the fall. I mean, I know Trevor will tell you there wasn't. How many days ago did it snow in Toronto? Was it earlier? Was it late last week? It snowed.
1 day.
Right.
woke
You
up
had like
to
a
snow.
light snowfall. You're like, it's too soon.
Yeah,
and
is
here
too
it
soon.
is. You're like, honey, can you get my shorts from the dresser, please?
Pretty much.
Right? Like that's how
yes.
Canada, like Alaska's seeing in crazy high temperatures. The Arctic is basically melting. So it's not surprising that Canada has these warm weather conditions in the middle of November.
We usually get a few days at the beginning of January too. We get a nice warm spell as well. It's the jet stream. We're right in the middle of it, so it kinda
Yeah,
goes
and
up
it's
down.
getting more. That's exactly what's driving these incredible ups and downs. Like, I mean, we had snow just at the end of April last year, and 30 days later, we almost cracked our all-time highest temperature ever recorded. We were just shy of 100 degrees Fahrenheit a month after we had snow. That's retarded. Like it's completely makes no sense.
In California, which is known for its very nice weather for the majority of the year, especially like in places like San Diego and Northern California, they had such high temperatures this year that LA people were essentially sweltering and having heat-related illnesses because there's no AC there, unlike here in Florida where we technically have AC in most of the places we build. So people who are not used to these very, very high weather conditions are like, what is going you see these really weird weather occurrences all around the world, and everyone's like, yeah, I mean, just you name a country, name any continent, and you'll find a list of either extremely really bad weather systems, hurricanes, any kind of cyclone that there is, massive flooding, mudslides, high temperatures, whatever. I mean, you're just seeing these pop up everywhere all the time. And then, hey, let's add a global pandemic on top of that. Right? It's what a year.
Well, on a different note, our next I know. How do you segue out of this?
I know.
Trev,
You know what, though?
something happy to talk about.
These are the days of our lives. But let's talk about Spotify.
Yeah, exactly. So our friend Dan Berkland on Twitter did some testing with the latest 2020 4410.1. So he had a chance to test out the overhauled in-car Spotify application, and he was bummed because he discovered that Tesla is still locking the bit rate of the app at 96 kilobits per second, which is not good for music. Okay for audio, podcast, that kind of thing, but when it comes to music, it's actually crappy. So he did a bunch of tests, and sure enough, that's exactly what's happening. So for the time being, if you want to listen to Spotify in all of its glory, well, put the app on your phone and then stream over Bluetooth.
Sad.
Yeah, it's pretty sad. I don't know whether that's deliberate on Tesla's part to cap the data rates that they have to pay, because let's face it, not everybody enjoys unlimited data past their 1 year grace period when they first get the car. So, yeah, unfortunately. So, yeah, I think there's a bit of a push on the internet now to say, Tesla, is there any way you can increase that? My opinion is 128 should be the bare minimum. Yeah. Because anything below that's just junk. I mean, 128 is pretty crap. I know a lot of guys are like, "Well, we want lossless or everything." Okay, fine. I mean, I'm older. I can't tell the difference between certain bit rates and other ones when it gets too high, right? Because you lose the lows and you lose the highs. So, but I 256 would be nice. I'd be happy with that.
I'd be thrilled for 192.
Right? It's not that much more in terms of file sizes. So I don't know.
Well, you know what? I had this thought the other day when I was driving my loaner Model S, and then I got back into my Model 3. It would be wonderful if at some point Tesla had a way of upgrading from LTE to 5G in their vehicles and give owners the option to pay to have 5G service were available. Because then you're getting faster downloads, which would allow you to get the higher bit rate that you're talking about. But if you have the owners pay to have that service, just a flat rate, whatever they get, you basically open that capacity, and whatever costs you're incurring, well, basically the owners are paying for it in a flat monthly fee to be able to have, faster downloads and everything else. Because at some point, LTE is going to be outmoded. It's going to be outdated.
There are pointers. I think Green found some stuff, I think, in the latest firmware pointing that there's a possibility of 5G coming to cars in the near future. So I don't know if that's part of the refresh or possibly a modem upgrade or something like that. I mean, phones are starting to go to 5G now. I mean, it's been around for some time. It's just waiting for the carriers to put up the antennas to really take advantage of that. So
that would be my question: is the modem in the car good enough? I know when I imported my Volt into Canada, GM for free upgraded the modem to get it to, was either for 3G or 4G here, because it didn't have it. The US cars didn't have it, so they actually had to change the hardware out in it.
Interesting.
Yeah, but I mean, if the technology in the vehicle is just because of how dated it is, I mean, who knows how long they've been using the same LTE antenna in the vehicle? I mean, it's obviously been in the cars for some number of years. If they've relatively used the same component time and time again, it'd be interested if someone out there, maybe we could do the homework, but if you're in the audience and you want to look at the catalog, the parts catalog, and just to see, maybe there's a clue into there if they've used the same one across all four vehicles or not. But yeah, at some point it'd be hard to not make that change from LTE to 5G. It'd be hard not to.
Well, I know in the S's and the X's, the board that they use in the MCU is very modular. There's a lot of different circuit boards that all click in. Modem was certainly an upgrade. There was a time Tesla was offering, actually they're still offering, I think, a $500 upgrade for cars that have the older modem to upgrade to the new one. Matter of fact, they're actually offering a radio upgrade as well for some of those cars. Some of the people upgraded the MCU2 lost, I think it was AM or FM transmission. I think they lost AM for quite some time, and then they lost FM transmission, but now I think they make an upgrade available for that now too, for those that want that.
Yeah, you get FM back, but not AM, if I remember.
Well, AM is my understanding is that there's a lot of interference from the motors and the power electronics and stuff. That's why they can't really use it. So they're streaming the AM stations, over the modem type of thing. But if you want FM now, apparently you can get it. I believe, don't quote me on this, but I think it was a difference in the wiring harness.
Okay.
When they did the MCU upgrade, they didn't get around to doing the wiring harness. But anyways, I don't know. Maybe one of you Tesla technicians can chime in on that. Send me a DM or something like that. All right, so our last story tonight is actually courtesy of our friend Ian, who tweeted that, the Minister of Environment, Benoit Charette, confirms that Quebec's provincial EV rebate program will be available until the end of 2021 and foresees it continuing on for several more years.
Woo! Yeah, that was nice because we were not sure if this current administration was going to go forward with it. It was very shaky in the beginning. You know, they tend to lean fiscally conservative. And this was a hard sell. And I really have to put out huge props to my friends at l'AVEQ, l'Association du Véhicule Électrique de Québec, who are
five times fast.
Yeah, exactly. Who are quite influential, and have a good relationship with the various provincial governments we've had. And I'm sure they were instrumental in it. But just the way things are leaning nationally right now in Canada, I think, they understand that our role here in Quebec to be a leader in this is really important. And even if it still costs a little bit of money, the outcome is worth it. Because how insane would it be for us to end a program in one of the only places on planet Earth that runs essentially on 100% renewable energy? It wouldn't make any sense. So not only have they guaranteed it to the end of 2021, but if you go and look at the line entries in the budget for the next 4 years, it's there. And there's actually more money being allotted to it in the next 4 years. So I was thrilled about that. So happy to see that.
I wish more provinces would get on that. We had a good one here in Ontario until it was clobbered. At least we still have something at the federal level, but then again, it's also capped and stuff. So at least at the federal level, it's fair for everyone. Like in the U.S., when you had the federal tax credit, everybody qualified. But it was tied to a manufacturer. Now, of course, Tesla at the beginning of last year, gone. Or actually, beginning of this year, I think it was phased out, right? So, yeah.
I'm hoping Ontario is going to come back because, I listened in. I was this information was announced at the Electromobility Canada conference, which was virtual this year. Mm-hmm. And I logged in for all 2 days of it. And there's a huge amount of push, both from provincial and federal governments, to capitalize on the switch over to EV technology. Like we really want to bring in everything from full-blown auto manufacturing to component manufacturing to R&D, like really harness all the resources and make Canada like an EV attractive to everybody in the EV ecosystem. That's really what the focus is on. And there's a lot of money. We're talking billions of dollars now that are in the pot to make this happen at all the different levels when you combine it. And Ontario now is the focus of a lot of it because Ford's announced just a couple of months ago that the Oakville assembly plant is going to be converted all EV. They're going to have 5 electric vehicles being manufactured in Oakville starting in 2025. Fiat Chrysler, same thing, announced that they're going to be building out of the Windsor factory EVs starting the same year in 2025. So now with all this EV manufacturing coming in, how can Ontario as a province, be still ripping out chargers and not supporting anything as far as the EV market goes? It's counterintuitive. I have to think there's going to be, if nothing alone, just the Canadian Auto Workers Union is going to want to put pressure on them. It's like, look, this is our livelihoods here. We need people to buy these vehicles. You've got to get on board with it. So hopefully that'll swing them back, the business opportunity.
Well, let's hopefully they get on board with that. It shouldn't be a political issue. I mean, quite honestly, right? Because it affects everybody.
Yeah.
Well, that brings us to the end of our stories. I did send out a tweet earlier today to see if we can get some people to ask us some questions, because here on the podcast, we do like to answer viewer and listener questions, and you guys certainly delivered. So I wanted to bring up the first question is from Ben. He says, having received mixed messages about properly heating and defogging Tesla glass with cold temperatures. What recommendations would you offer to new owners experiencing their first winter in an EV? That's a very good question, Ben, because we get it quite a lot from people that are, and he's in Colorado, by the way, so just for context. So my experience has been that, well, the first thing you need to understand about fogging on windows is because there's condensation in the car. Winter months and stuff, you get a lot of humidity. Where is it going to go? Deposits on the windows. So first thing is don't leave a lot of water and snow to melt inside the car. That makes things worse, right? So take your floor mats out and bang them out. The second thing to do is you want to dry up that air. So you either do one of two things. Run the AC on in recirculate. Okay, so if you're going to run the AC on, you must have recirculate on so that it dries out the air. That's part of AC, what it does. If you don't want to use AC because it will use less energy, what you need to have is fresh air out coming into the car, but make sure your recirculate is off. Because if you have it recirculating, you have fresh air coming in, it's just going to fog up. The other thing that I found is not necessarily relying on auto as much. What I tend to do is I set it at a comfortable temperature, and I will set the fan speed. Now, on my Model X, it was different than the Model 3 because the HVAC systems are very different. But I tended to put the vents a little higher so that we get up under the windows, and leave the fan setting at, I don't know, 4 or 5, whatever was comfortable, not too loud. Basically, I would try and run the fan speed as low as I can just before the windows started fogging up, and I would kind of leave it like that, and that seems to work quite well. But the main thing is you want to make sure you dry out the air. So make sure if you're going to run the AC, you have to have recirculation on. If you don't want to use AC, because it will use a little less energy, make sure that fresh air is brought into the car and turn recirc off. Ian, do you want to add anything else?
I was just going to say, what's funny is I know there were a lot of complaints on that when the Model 3 first came out with window fogging and that sort of thing. And I noticed this early on in the first winter. Yeah, you had to do exactly what you're describing, Trev, to optimize the performance. But I think there's been some software upgrades that have happened. They've tweaked it because all of last year, I don't ever recall messing with it. I've left it on auto, and it's been brilliant. Like, I rarely have to touch it.
That's true. I do remember a time when it definitely did get better. When I had my Model X, I was fighting with it constantly. So, of course, that's prior to the Model 3. So, yeah, those are the main things.
I think, extreme situation, like you said, like a lot of humidity in the car, you might want to optimize it manually. But I think most of the time now, the system's got it sorted out.
Yeah. So just make sure you don't have a lot of moisture in your car. That's the main thing. All right, next question comes from Kevin. He says, how long after the Plaid Model S debuts at the end of next year do we expect to see a Plaid Model X? Do you think it will have over a 500-mile range as well? I'm going to say that pretty much at the same time, if not shortly thereafter. If they do still intend on bringing a Plaid Model X, I still think in a lot of ways both cars will share quite a bit of components, at least drivetrain wise, battery. I mean, not bodies obviously, but drivetrain, battery, and I think a lot of it really boils down to how much are they going to re-engineer in this car. Are they really going to rock the boat on this thing? My belief is that it will definitely get the new 4680 cells, so that entails a complete new battery pack. So at that point, do they design something that will house the cells in a pack that will fit in the existing body, or are we looking at something completely different? I don't know.
It's also hard to speculate though there will be a Plaid Model X when we've seen no mention. There's nothing on the tracks. They haven't tested anything. So having some of the DNA of a Plaid Model S, make it into a tweaked, refined, I guess we can call it, Model X. Maybe there are some inclinations to doing that, but we know the Plaid Model S is a beast unto itself. I don't foresee them doing anything like that for Model X, since there's been, mind you, we saw glimpses of the Plaid Model S on the track in Germany how many months ago? Like, we saw it a long time ago, and and there's nothing about Model X doing the same thing. Yeah. So if you're asking me today on my birthday what's going to happen this time next year, unless they're coming out with a car on the track in the next several weeks, I don't see them having that coming out next year.
That's a good possibility. They may have just, Model X is just going to be Model X the way it is, and not get much more.
I 100% agree with Eric. I don't see it because there's so much differences in hardware. Like, we know the body's going to be modified on the S. It's going to have those big flares. It's going to have the much bigger aggressive track tires on it with much bigger wheels, bigger brakes, all that stuff. Would they bother putting that on an X? Why would you do that? And as I'm thinking this, as Eric is speaking, I'm going, well, the only argument is the huge thing now amongst the baller community, as they would call themselves, is to have these like track ready SUVs. This is a beast which completely blows my mind. Like the new Audi RSQ8 that just came out, that's got these like dinner turkey dish plate, ceramic rotors. We just measured one of these things. Like the rotors on it are like 15 inches. It's absolutely ridiculous. You can't put anything smaller than a 22-inch wheel in the bloody vehicle. Who's taking a 7,000-pound SUV to the track is my question. But look at all the different AMG Mercedes models, these giant, supercharged engines. The same thing, with the M5 and X5M and X6M from BMW. I mean, there's an obsession now with make these ultra-fast SUVs. So as crazy as it sounds, maybe if Tesla wanted to go after that market, maybe making a Plaid Model X would be a thing to do. I don't personally see it now, but there certainly seems to be customers for them.
I would put my money more on a Model Y being made Plaid than Model X.
Well, that would mean we'd need a Plaid 3 as well. Oh, Plaid 3.
No, I'm just
Homer's drooling.
Ian is going to start listing his car for sale in the next few minutes.
For a Plaid 3? Oh, hell yeah.
Bridget, you didn't hear this.
No.
Speaking of BMW, have you guys seen the new iX that they announced?
I did.
Mm-hmm.
What's going on with the grill?
I don't know. It's not the craziest one I've ever seen. It's
they're getting into Lexus territory now. I mean, it's just getting redonkulous now with these grills. Yeah, well. Anyways, this is not the BMW podcast, but I thought I had to say it. All right. Next question comes from, and I can't read it, BLK Tony Soprano. Black Tony Soprano? I don't know. It's on Twitter. He asks, he says, Ryan McCaffrey, good friend of ours, hey Ryan, said that he had a source saying that the Cybertruck would have a range of around 560 miles. Do you think that the Plaid Model S will have a similar range, or will it be greater because it weighs less? That's a very good question. Well, I think a lot of it boils down to, are they going to put the Model S on a diet? We don't even know how much the Cybertruck's actually going to weigh.
Well, a lot.
How big is the battery pack on the Model X or Cybertruck? Yeah. Plaid. Is it 200 kilowatt hours? Don't know.
That was my guess, was around that. In order to get 500 and some odd miles of range from that truck, I think it's a 200 kilowatt hour pack. And I don't know if you,
4680 cells. Yeah.
His question really is, will it get the range? We already know Tesla has released the figures for Plaid.
Exactly. 400 what was it? 600?
I'm in the design studio now. I'm trying to pull out the
why didn't I think of that?
Guys,
I should have my V8.
Plaid, if the design studio would hurry up. The long range plus gets 402. Plaid gets 520 plus.
Well, there you go. 520 plus.
Okay.
So more than 520.
Mm-hmm.
There's your answer.
Yeah. Now we know with hypermiling,
they're going to get.
Here's a great one. Ready? With hypermiling, could the Plaid Model S get 1,000?
Oh, sure. If you're driving 20 miles an hour,
right? Yeah. So depending upon how you're driving, you certainly could get 560.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Ian won't. Ian wouldn't do it. Ian would get 260. That's probably max.
I'd be happy to track 300.
So do you think the Roadster? Do we think the Roadster would do 700?
Oh, it might even do more than 800.
Well, look, it would seem common that whenever someone's hypermiled an S or a 3, they've been able to, roughly speaking, double the rated range, right? Mm-hmm. When they've been going like the 28 mile an hour regime. So if the Roadster is, genuinely going to do 600 miles, then 1,200 miles is not out of question. Imagine that. You could drive almost all the way from Montreal to Florida without charging.
Why would you want to do that, though? Don't come to
28
Florida.
miles an hour? No,
don't come here. No, we'll leave. We'll meet you somewhere else. Don't come here. Gosh.
Okay, we'll go to Colorado. It's nice there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can go spend some time with Ben and show him how to defrost his car.
All right. Next question comes from Rickden707, who's in Australia, by the way. He says, how to stop the greedy governments from applying an EV tax to replace fuel levies? Oh, that's a really good question. There are many places out there have applied EV taxes because they think that they're losing road taxes that help pay for sorry, let me go back and say
Infrastructure.
infrastructure costs, because let's face it, if you're not buying fuel, because part of that fuel is the taxes that are used to improve infrastructure, roads and so on and so forth. Personally, I don't think that there's quite enough EVs on the road to really make that big of a dent. So I think it's a little premature to be doing that. However, someone could make a case to say that eventually something has to give. So, you could either front end it, maybe on the licensing part of it. I don't know. I mean, what are your thoughts on this, guys?
I have
Eric
this
has
idea. Okay.
All right, go ahead.
So
Eric.
So the news came out today that the state of Texas, and we're recording on a Thursday, so this is in the last 24 hours this came out, but Texas is trying to get a bill passed in their state house that would tax clean energy programs much higher than the things that are bad for us. Like oil and gas, right? Like things that are basically harmful to Earth's environment. They want to go, well, we're just going to tax you a little bit, just a smidge, just so you got to pay something, right? But if you're going solar, hydro, and wind, hey guys, listen, your stuff is really cool and all. It's very Austin awesome, but we're going to have to tax the hell out of that. So I feel like here's I've always been arguing this for a long time. And I'm going to pose this question knowing there is no answer. Why is fast food, which is more harmful than good, cheaper than the healthy stuff? Why is it more expensive to buy, say, a bag of apples than, say, a steak dinner, right? So it depends on the apples and how cheap the steak is. But anyway, you get the point.
Wow, where are you getting your...
Listen. Lums, just Lums, whatever, right? So is Lums even open anymore? I have no idea. Anyway, so I've always said that there should be a flip the script situation in a lot of ordinances. So to me, there should be a fast food tax. The things that increase healthcare costs,
yes,
cigarettes, fast food, things like that, things that are harmful to the environment. Gas, oil, things like that. Those things should be taxed higher to discourage people from actually doing it. And then take those costs, because like here in the US, we subsidize corn, wheat, and many things. Instead of using that to make cheap effing cereals, use that to make fruits and vegetables and things that are actually healthier for people to consume, less expensive, which makes them want to eat more of it. If you did that with, EVs and electrification and things like that, and, using winds, water, and solar, then yeah, you not only then allow the job sector to grow, you then encourage people to reinvest in that job sector. You then tax the things that, because right now no one's going to give up their lawnmower anytime, but if you want to get gas for that, well, it's going to cost you a bit more money, which then would make you go to get electric appliances and electric lawn care equipment.
Have you been to Home Depot recently and looked at appliances or like crazy. Garden tools? Mm-hmm. Everything's electric now.
Yeah,
it's
so there is
getting harder to buy those gasoline things. But
yeah,
anyways,
but ideally, it's still like, here in Florida, for example, I still see gas stations for less than $2 a gallon. So for people who are thinking of going electric, right now there is no incentive to do that. When like Tesla owners or people who are interested in Tesla, well, that EV credit is gone here in the U.S. Right? Certain states will give you some incentives, but ideally we're seeing federal governments and state governments sort of waning on that, just taking their foot off the pedal and not really accelerate that transition because they're saying we don't have the capital. And I'm saying you can get it by actually taxing the things that people are consuming on a daily basis that are actually doing irreparable harm to both themselves and to the environment.
You just in a nutshell described the carbon tax principle, which I think is the absolute best way possible for everywhere around the world to get us out of the situation you're in. And if you talk to any economist, even fiscally conservative economists, they will tell you that's the way to do it. Never mind putting a regulation on this and forcing people's hands. I mean, we all know, especially in the US, how much people hate to be told what to do. Put a tax on the thing that's bad. Let business decide. Business will always figure out the smart.
Or even cap and trade.
Exactly. But a
Yeah.
carbon tax solves
Yeah.
it all. I mean, and then you redistribute that money back into the system. And it's like, okay, we're going to tax this thing, but guess what? Everybody, your income tax or whatever is going to come down. So yes, your cost on certain items will go up, but you're going to get money back. You're not going to pay as much income tax, whatever it is. And now you get to choose to buy the cheaper thing. So you'll get the benefit of this, and it immediately diverts the stream instantaneously. Everyone's going to want out of it.
Now, without
I
getting
just can't for the life of me understand why governments, and this is not any specific kind of government, but why governments as a whole are making it more and more difficult for individuals and for companies to make the transition. We know the science. It tells us we know it's better.
Okay.
And they're just stupid to not want to make that change. When there are consumers basically lining up at the door with cash in their hands going, we're willing to buy, and they don't want to do it.
Well, here's the
lobby groups.
Yeah. Okay. There you go. Thank you. I was just about to say that. That's the biggest
100%.
problem.
It's 100% what it is. It's
You would think in a capitalist economy that people would listen to the consumers who are the ones who are deciding how they're going to spend their dollar.
Unfortunately, the lobby groups basically own the governments now.
Very much
so. What they want, they get.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, that's just the way it kind of works. If they were to stop the lobbying and make it illegal, a lot of that stuff would get cleaned up. But unfortunately, that genie's out of the bottle. All right, we really have to move on here, guys. Sorry. Last question of the evening comes from Lester. He says, any update on Tesla producing a CCS adapter? Oh my gosh. Yeah, everybody is asking about this. So the last I saw about a CCS adapter, other than the one in Europe, which they make for the S and the X, is they were testing one in Korea. In Korea, they use the same Tesla plug that we do in North America, the proprietary plug. And there was a CCS adapter that was spotted in Korea being tested. So they took a CCS and they plugged it in, and So that's the last we saw of it. Typically with Tesla, this kind of thing, I mean, they're all real quiet until they're done testing, and then all of a sudden it just pops up on the Tesla store. It's just like nobody says anything. It just shows up one day. Same thing with the Chatamo adapter for Model 3. We knew that they were testing it, and they said nothing. And then all of a sudden one day it was just like, got a software update, and hey, now it works. So I think it's going to be the same way. I think we're going to have a discussion with. I'm actually having a discussion with Kyle. Actually, I think it's on Monday. Anyways, that's a story for another day about the future of CCS and Chatamo and all these other things. But I would really like to see a CCS adapter because it gives us more opportunities than Chatamo. Chatamo is very much a Japanese standard, but it's fallen out of favor. CCS is where it's at. Model 3 has been designed to use CCS because it's got the larger charge flap. That's what they use in Europe. I was looking at the Cybertruck. It's got a great big charge flap on there too. The rumor scuttlebutt that I've been told is Model S, when it gets around to being refreshed, so to speak, it's going to have larger tail lights. So to me, that indicates possibility of a larger charge plug in there. Because if you look at the Chinese Model S, they've got a separate door on the side of the cars for their charge plug, the GB adapter, which is big. It almost looks like Chatamo. And that's just got to drive the Tesla engineers and the designers crazy because, oh, how dare you put a door flap on the side of our cars. But anyways, that's another discussion. But anyways, what do you guys think? Anytime soon, or like, do we really need this thing?
It'd be nice. I'm just curious what the upper charge limit's going to be. One of the things I love about CCS is, you now have Electrify America, Electrify Canada units that are 350 kilowatts. So you can get some serious, like V3 style charging speeds out of that. But I wonder if Tesla's going to cap it based on communication. Obviously they can control their own charging with their own units very, very precisely. Are they going to be able to do that with the CC? I don't see why not, because they're doing it in Europe, right? So
so they give us 150, 200 kilowatt.
That'd be fine.
That's great.
Yeah.
It's better than the 48 you get on Chatamo right now.
Yeah. But it just, it literally doubles your choices in a lot of areas. So I'm all for it. I really hope it comes soon.
Yeah. It's not going to be a cheap adapter though. It'll be $500-600 easy.
Probably.
Something like that. So. Well, I think that brings us pretty much to the end of the show. I want to say thank you for everybody for submitting their questions. And I don't know when we're going to do another podcast. We the COVID thing right now, it's just not quite as much news, and we got other things going on. So we like to do this every 2 weeks and stuff. But once things pick up again, we'll probably get back on our normal schedule. But having said that, since our guests are here on the show, Eric, why don't you go first? Let us know where people can find you and whatever you want to plug.
Sure. You can find me on Twitter. It's this website that's not Parler. It's kind of cooler than Parler. We allow diversity of voices and ideas. But no, you can find me on Twitter. The handle is ECFix. That's ECFIX. And please, as you can see, if you're watching this on YouTube, you'll see in the corner, wear your masks. We're seeing horrendous numbers all around North America, especially here in the States.
Not over, folks.
So we expected winter to get really bad. I want you to be safe. I want your loved ones to be safe. I want the people you come in contact to be safe. And if we don't have a show before this holiday season, before this Thanksgiving, we are recommending that you try to have a virtual Thanksgiving if you can. So try to avoid large gatherings. It's going to be tough. We're all dealing with this. But it may be safer to not travel, to stay home, and just kind of isolate if you can. So we've got technology at our disposal. So use your video conferencing applications, use your phones, do whatever you can. But if you can have a socially distanced, safe holiday season, please do so. I'd hate to hear anybody in our audience being sick. If you have loved ones who are sick, I hope they do recover. This is a trying time for all of us. So we're all dealing with this. This is not me getting on my high chair telling you what you should be doing. But again, I honestly, this is not something to mess around with. So please wear your masks. Thank you.
How about you, Ian?
I have a special message for my friends who either I've received or ordered their Model Ys, and it's haha.
Haha, yes. Nice shirt.
I love this shirt. Yeah, I just got it the other day. That's from the Tesla store. So plug for the Tesla merchandise.
Yes.
I saw the top of your head and I'm like, is it going to turn into a balloon for my birthday? That'd be crazy.
I could have tried to pull that trick.
you could have drawn like a line in the back of your head.
So, you can find me on Twitter. The handle is @IanPavelko. And if you've already got your Haha Yes Model Y t-shirt from Tesla, well, then you can go to the Mad Hungarian Evolveware store at teespring.com, and you can pick up an Evolveware shirt to go along with it.
Excellent. Video or link will be in the video and the podcast description, as always, to Ian's merchandise.
Thank you,
I guess
Kendall.
that leaves me. You can follow me on Twitter. Just look for Tesla Owners Online, and check out our forum at TeslaOwnersOnline.com. We need more discussions in there. I know a lot of people have been getting their Model 3s and their Model Ys and stuff, and it's just like, So yeah, go check out the forum. There's lots of people on there. There's some really good discussions going on right now. With the refresh Model 3. So looking forward to doing a video on that one pretty soon. Speaking of which, if you live in the greater Toronto area and you're expecting a refreshed Model 3, please reach out to me. I'd love to be able to do a video with your car. I got a couple lined up, but whoever comes first, right? So let me know. Anyways, that's it for tonight. Thanks for listening and watching, and we'll see you next time. Thanks, guys. See ya.
Bonsoir tout le monde.
What he said.